Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining in this real surreal time we are having right now. As you know, the world completely changed in the last couple of weeks and months, and I still sit here in my office so many times and I think, wow, what's going on? It's really surreal. Who would have thought at the beginning of March that a tiny virus would have changed the whole world in just a couple of weeks? And well, we are stuck in it right now. And what do? We can't really travel anymore. Some regions in the world still travel or have started to open travel and the borders again. And it's, well, I was close to say it's a fascinating time. It's definitely not fascinating. It's an interesting time. And there's so much to talk about and how we get or how we cope with that situation and make the best out of it. And I'm very happy that we are on this conference with BUZZ.travel and that we have some really good experts all together. And yeah, I would like to share quickly my screen so that I can introduce you to my fellow experts. Here we have Mariëtte. Mariëtte, maybe you can quickly pronounce your last name?
Toit-Helmbold.
Very good, Mariëtte. It's we know each other already for quite a long time. Mariëtte established Destineer, a destination management and strategic marketing agency. In 2013, after 10 years as the award-winning CEO of Cape Town Tourism. As a Cape Town Tourism, I remember we also had a campaign where we created the hashtag and the campaign Love Cape Town, which is now actually even like the complete branding of the tourism board. That's, when I think about that, already quite a few years ago, but it feels a long time, but actually in this time of social media and digital life, it's not that long ago. So Destineer, your current company. With Destineer, you develop and help implement strategy, build brands, market destinations, and connect people. Mariëtte is as well tourism and marketing strategist, facilitator, and speaker on tourism destination management, wine tourism, and innovation in marketing. Wine tourism, I guess we'll find out a bit later about that, why that is such an important point. I can already say she lives in Stellenbosch, one of the exciting and great destinations for excellent wines. Then we have Keith. Keith left his 10-year investment banking career to travel the world and to start his luxury travel blog, Velvet Escape. Keith is as well the CEO of iAmbassador, which he founded 2011. With that, he began offering social media and marketing services. iAmbassador won multiple awards for the campaigns and had a big impact on shaping and creating on the professional travel blogger industry. Yeah, that's I think. Keith, when did you start with your travel blog actually?
2008.
2008. So yeah, right after the financial crisis hit everyone. And we're back in a crisis talking together on this topic now. And to myself, I run Travel Dudes, TravelDudes.org. It's a community, it's a social travel platform, but we also have our own team of content creators. And Travel Dudes is an industry leader with the field of travel influencer marketing. So in partnership with clients, we create cost-effective, inspirational, and engaging travel content for digital and social platforms. But in the last 3 years, we have focused on producing really our own videos for our own distribution, which is a kind of its own travel guide show. On one of the last conferences, someone introduced me, and I think that fits very well also for Keith and Mariëtte, as a pioneer of travel blogging and digital destination marketing, which sounds, I think, more wise, sounds more experienced, far better than just like old. And yeah, I run Travel Dudes already for 14 years. So that's also quite a while. And we'll find ourselves now in a complete new situation, which, yeah, really no one expected a couple of months ago. Let's stop the screen sharing at this moment and we'll get right back to you. Now we can also discuss face to face. And already like a little notice for everyone who jumped in for the call now and who joins us. Please feel free to ask questions at the bottom of your screen of the window. You see the F&A, and I'll try to that we bring those in also in the discussion right now. talking about travel bloggers, talking about the crisis. The crisis, well, we are right now in a phase where we started with crisis communication that was in the last couple of months. Obviously, crisis communication keeps on. We get into a process of recovery campaigns on the recovery process now. How do you feel? What's going on right now? Mariëtte, well, how is your situation in South Africa, in Cape Town? Beautiful Cape Town.
Yeah, it is certainly beautiful, but it is a very strange time we find ourselves in. And in South Africa, we're a few weeks behind, I think, Europe in terms of our infection rate. It is now close to our peak. So we're seeing a very intense increase in infections and hospitalization. And essentially, we've been in the longest lockdown probably in the world as a country. We went into lockdown early March, and we are still in lockdown. And of course, our industry is hugely, a huge contributor to our country's GDP. And tourism is essentially the lifeblood for so many people, and it supports thousands of jobs, and particularly in our country, small businesses. And of course, these small businesses don't have the buffer that many larger corporations have. They can't just, close their doors for a few weeks or months and restart. Literally, tourism is hand to mouth what they survive on. So we are definitely seeing a catastrophic situation in terms of tourism here. Destinations are suffering, tourism businesses are suffering, and people are losing their jobs. And at this stage, the prospect for international tourism to return to South Africa is realistically 2021, although there is a hope that, in South Africa's case, it seems that our death rate is not so high. We are hoping that, we can get through this, our peak quickly, and hopefully by November, December, we can be back up and running. So of course, we are looking towards domestic tourism like many other countries around the world. But in South Africa, our reality is that domestic tourism is not enough to sustain us. South Africans, the majority of South Africans don't have the disposable income to travel. Travel is not part of their culture. And we still have a long way to go to make travel a more common and accessible for the majority of South Africans, for whom survival is what's paramount. They don't have the luxury of going away for a weekend, or let alone to stay in a 5-star hotel. So our industry is bleeding, and we have a lot of people that are desperate at the moment, and we need to do everything in our power to make and get back to working as soon as possible. And the message is very clear that South Africa is very well placed to attract international visitors post-lockdown. We have the natural beauty, we have incredible high quality of accommodation and tourism facilities, and people are working very hard here to implement measures and precautions so that we are ready to open as soon as we can.
You said it very, very well. I think it's like a complete different situation again. Also, like for the communication here in Europe, I see the destination, the tourism boards already start in the communication to attract local tourism, so that people can explore their own countries. And like you said, that's completely different in South Africa. Did you see how the tourism boards were handling this kind of situation, or yourself, like for your clients and partners? How did the content look like in the past? Or like in the last couple of weeks? Because, I mean, what did you do? I mean, were you still like pushing out content, or were you silent, or?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, as soon as there's really two sides. Some destinations and tourism bodies have been really good at communications. Others have gone completely quiet. And of course, in the business consultations that we're doing, to support businesses through this time, our advice is to not go quiet. It's the worst thing that you can do. It's very, very important. People now want to be inspired and reassured. So we are all online at the moment, even in South Africa, and we have an important market here that might not be a big market, but a lot of South Africans would have gone overseas for this winter, for summer, obviously in Europe, etc. And they have enough money to travel. Then we also have an upcoming middle class who would be keen to travel. And if we can package ourselves properly for that market, it's at least something. But we've definitely seen people struggling, and tourism businesses and tourism boards struggling with what to say and how to say it without kind of coming across as crass or as insincere. So many people err on the rather say nothing than say the wrong thing. So also we've seen poor communication from tourism authorities in terms of what can be expected and what the lockdown regulations imply. As we are starting to ease some of the restrictions, there's been miscommunication, for instance, in terms of whether domestic tourism is allowed intra-regionally at the moment, because some of the other sectors have opened, but tourism, which is such an important component of our country, is still completely closed. Although they've allowed some restaurants to open and for takeaways, etc., some wineries are open now for wine sales, although you can't sit down or do any leisure activities. The bottom line is there's miscommunication. And what we need in a time like this is very clear communication from tourism authorities, from tourism businesses. And what customers and our audiences need is we need information, and we need to be inspired. So we need to talk to both the head and the heart. I think one of the things that this pandemic has done, it's thrown us all together, and we've realized just how incredibly fragile our world is. But it's also brought us together in a way, and it's reminded us of humanity. And people really now want to return to that stage where they are able to hold their loved ones close, where they are able to revisit their favorite places. And they might not physically be able to travel there yet, but we'd like to start dreaming about that time. And I think that's really the messaging that tourism boards and tourism businesses should be focusing on now, is inspiring, but also reassuring and providing adequate information and clarity to consumers and travelers.
Yeah, what I see here, especially in Europe, but also like in many countries, that the restrictions, everyone is doing their own restrictions, and which is very, I could imagine very scary also for the travelers, when even if people want to travel, they don't really know what to expect. Keith, you as with the background of a travel blogger, but also running campaigns and working with the different destination and tourism board, when you hear those kind of situations, where do you see the benefit of a destination? How could they work with the travel blogging? How can they make use of the potential?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, to start with, I mean, iAmbassador was born out of a crisis, actually. I mean, we started iAmbassador in 2011. And actually, the idea of creating a community of bloggers, and who also create our own campaigns, etc., came from the crisis, the Arab Spring crisis in 2010, 2011, and where there was a lot of turmoil in the Middle East, but not in Jordan. But Jordan saw its tourism arrivals crashing, and so what they did very quickly was what they wanted to do was to get the message out very quickly that everything was fine in Jordan. You know, there was no turmoil there, and there are a lot of things to do and see in Jordan. And so what they did was they figured out that the fastest way to get the message out that Jordan is a safe country to visit was to invite bloggers to come and visit Jordan, and basically for the bloggers to show their readers that, you know, Jordan's a safe place to visit. There's nothing happening there, and there are plenty of things to do and see. So I was one of the bloggers who was invited in 2011 to visit Jordan, and I came actually towards the end of that campaign, which lasted a whole year. And when I was sitting there having lunch with them, and we were talking about all the fantastic content that had already been posted by the bloggers in the past like 8 months. And I said, you know, it'd be great to do a wrap-up campaign at the end of the year to showcase all this beautiful content. And that's how Ambassador started. Actually, it was the first campaign we ever did. And it was really to put the spotlight on Jordan and to fantastic place to go on a holiday. So in this sense, bloggers have a really good role to play in times of crisis and in trying to get the message out very quickly, and also to inspire, as Mariëtte said, to inspire and to inform. And I think that's exactly where bloggers or travel content creators excel in.
And I think the one of the really big benefits is, like you said, it can be like very quick. I mean, you are in the destination, you can like share your message, but it's not just like a one way, right? I mean, there's a communication line both ways, and so people can, and you can reply to them. I think that is one of the really big value.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because bloggers obviously have a very good engagement with their audience. So I mean, any followers of a blogger can always ask a question via the blog or via social media and get an answer. And so they build up this relationship over time, and if it clicks, you build up the trust factor between the blogger and the reader. And so, when you have a blogger visiting a destination and, showing what it's like over there, the things they can do and see, which restaurants to go to, which hotels to stay at. These are things which the readers would be taking note of. And I think, that trust factor is really important. And I think especially in times of crisis, because of the trust factor that bloggers have with their audience, this is a really, really important point, which bloggers have and should make use of in their communications. And I think, working with tourism boards or brands to get the message across, and especially to get the message across very quickly, using bloggers and their social media channels and their blogs should be, an important part of their communications.
Bloggers. I've got a question from Becky, which fits actually nicely into that one. She asked, how will DMOs ensure they are finding the right content creators now to share the right messages? Because obviously not every travel blogger is a professional media trained person who can respond on the reactions the audience might give. How can you find the right people for that?
I think, well, first of all, I would if I were a DMO, I'm not, but I would actually, choose to work with the bloggers that I've worked with before, and I've built up a relationship with. And when you have that two-way communication going between the DMO and the blogger that you work with, it's so much easier to relay the information that you want the blogger's readers to see. And I think that is a very important aspect when at times of crisis or during a recovery, that you have those communication lines going, and that the blogger is getting the correct information, because facts are so important now, and there has to be an open line between the DMO and the blogger to make sure that the right messages are being put out there, the right information is being put out there, in addition to obviously the inspiration that the bloggers can bring into the picture as well.
Mariëtte, what's your point on that?
Yeah, just to add to that, now over the last few years, we've seen trust becoming more and more important when it comes to making travel decisions. And I love what Keith said there. We as DMOs, but also as the travel blogging and influencer industry, it's very important now to reach out and to work strategically together. And I think it's a great idea to work with people that you've worked with before, who you can trust. Trust will become more and more important as we go forward. We'll see from a traveler perspective, they will not go to destinations or visit a hotel that they do not trust and can see the visual evidence that those people are taking their safety seriously and that it will be a remarkable experience. So we're going to have to see a lot more transparency in the negotiations between bloggers and DMOs. I certainly hope that DMOs will put a lot more work into choosing the kind of blogger or influencer they're working with, and do their research and their homework. The fit with your audience is so important now, and being able to be very, very selective in terms of who do we want to attract. So which blogger or influencers or content writer should I use that speak to that audience? We know, as an example, for instance, just from the wine industry, that women are playing a huge role, not just when it comes to travel decisions, but when it comes to what wine they're buying. Okay, so in most cases, women are the ones buying the wine, not just in grocery shops, but also now online. And we've seen a huge growth in online sales happening over the last few weeks. And in a place like South Africa, we've been caught snoozing because a lot of the industry have not implemented digital marketing, online campaigns, or even e-commerce yet. So they, and the same applies to the travel industry and to DMOs. So we'll see now that I think one of the biggest shake-ups that the pandemic has caused, certainly from an industry perspective, is this online revolution, right? So I think bloggers and online influencers will become more and more important as we go forward, but we will also see more and more noise coming online. And as DMOs and as brands, we have to work hard and make it our business to select the right blogger that we know is a great storyteller, but also has the trust of their audiences.
Talking about noise, which fits to the next question, which comes from Alexandra, and she asked if she hasn't really worked with the bloggers before, and she finds it hard how to choose then a blogger. Like, what are the parameters to look for besides of the numbers of followers, which we know can also be, unfortunately, sometimes a bit fake, but altogether, I think, so she asked, so she runs a hotel. So she asked, like, how can she choose a blogger to promote a hotel?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's important to get out onto social media, do your research, and look at the blogs, look at the presence of the blogger on social media. What do they tweet about, or what photos do they put up on Instagram, or what things they say, and try to find the ones which really fit the messaging or the image that you as a business have, and that really align well, and just watch them for a while, and just read their blog posts, what do they typically write about, and once you're comfortable with the stuff that they're doing, get in touch and have a chat, a Zoom call or a Skype call, whatever, and get to know the blogger as well. And it's really important to have a good match between what your objectives are as a business and what the blogger's objectives are as a content creator. And I think it's important to talk about it very clearly with each other and try to find ways to align those two sides.
Mariëtte is actually very busy also today, all the time, and she unfortunately has to leave us for another call, but the session is about to end. Mariëtte, thanks for joining. Before we completely finish, I would just like to ask one more question for Keith, unless you are still got 2 minutes, Mariëtte. But it's, I think, a very good question because when working with bloggers and how bloggers can help in a recovery phase, pay or not to pay. I mean, a lot of bloggers are professionals and they make a living with that, just like every other business or like many other businesses have like a really trouble time in this current crisis. So you've got the professional bloggers who actually make a living out of that, and then you've got hobby bloggers. So how would you deal with a situation like that now?
If I can add to that before I pop out, thank you guys. It's been great to see you and to be part of this conversation. I think it's such a valuable conversation, and there's still so much work that needs to be done in this terrain. And I think particularly now with COVID, we're going to have to, see how the rules change and how we apply a different way of thinking, and collaboration will become a lot more important. as I said, transparency a lot more important, not just for bloggers, but also for consumers out there. So when it comes to payment, we've certainly realized the value in transacting with bloggers that are professional and being very open about that. And it's just, you pay what you get what you pay for. So, you know, if you are, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you always have to pay, but certainly when you're running a proper campaign and you are trying to do something a little bit more strategic, it's very important to prioritize and to put resources to it, as you would to above the line ad campaign in the past or other traditional media. You certainly would have invested in that. So I think from an online marketing perspective and a good content perspective, it's an investment that's worthwhile. But then again, of course, they are also hobby bloggers and a different kind of information that you want to get across. So it's not necessarily a one size fit all, but we've certainly seen the importance and the value to have a good contract in place, to agree on payment, to be transparent about that, to have a good brief in place, and to make sure that the campaign also fits well with what the blogger or the content creator is good at doing, so that there's a good fit and that there's mutual respect. And essentially expectations can then be met. So often I've seen DMOs inviting a top influencer with 1 million followers, hoping for the odd tweet or the odd Instagram story, and the investment is just not worth it in the end. So rather choose your bloggers well. It doesn't always have to be the rock star. It can be someone with a very engaged but smaller audience. Pay the person what they are worth, come to an agreement, and then make sure that the expectations are very clear in terms of what you expect as a DMO in terms of the content that needs to be created. But obviously maintaining the integrity and the personality of what the blogger needs to get across to their audience and their followers. So thank you very much, everybody. It's been wonderful to be part of you. I'm going to pop out, but I'm sure there'll still be a great conversation.
Thank you so much for joining. It was good to see you again. Maybe we can just simply, very quickly, can I share my screen? There we are. I think that might be some very good help for everyone. Keith, maybe you want to say anything to the think tank reports of the Social Travel Summit, because, well, the half of the 30 minutes are gone, but...
Yeah. Well, actually, you know, Melvin, if you don't mind, I think there were 2 questions there which we could handle. I mean, we still have a couple of minutes.
Sure.
Yeah. But to everyone here, we organize the Social Travel Summit, which is a professional travel blogger conference every year. And one of the parts of the Social Travel Summit we organize is the think tank, where we discuss a variety of topics, and all these discussions are then put into a report, and you can download them for free via the website. And there's a lot of great information in there of discussions between bloggers and the tourism industry about issues affecting them. But those 2 questions, yeah.
Yeah, let's stop the screen sharing again. So the 2 questions. I
think there was...
Is the tourism board reaching out to any bloggers? If so, how are they sourcing bloggers? And the other question is, will there be a decline in the number of blogs now that tourism is resetting? Will it reset what is professional in the blogging industry?
Well, the first one is, yes, tourism boards are reaching out to bloggers. I have already seen, I mean, as an ambassador, we're doing a couple of campaigns now, just social media awareness campaigns for different destinations, and I've seen similar on social media of other destinations, actually around the world, not only in Europe, who are reaching out to bloggers and doing social media campaigns. So at the moment, I don't see any like blog trips or whatever happening, but not now anyway, but in the near future, probably yes. But right now I see quite a few social media campaigns happening for destinations. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I've actually seen as well. And like, I remember like, 2 months ago, that was something I couldn't see in any kind of near future, but like already I'm in contact with a couple of people and already discussing the recovery campaigns, which is actually a really good sign. I think it shows a bit of the light in the tunnel, and it gives also like a bit of hope and something to really to steer on. The number of blogs to work with in the future. So what do you think, Keith?
Well, I think I think there will be, especially well, I don't know. I think some blogs will stop. But what I've seen is like the more established bloggers are also starting niche blogs, which then increases the number of blogs again. So and it's a great thing to do. And in the past couple of months, most of us have had a lot of time on our hands, and I've seen quite a few bloggers putting their time to good use to build a new niche blog, something that they've always wanted to do. It's something that's close to their heart. And so I see the number of blogs growing, but at the same time, I can also imagine that there are quite a few blogs, especially when there's no income coming in, and especially when there's no travel, that these blogs will kind of stop or maybe fade away. I think it'll be a bit of two, really. Yeah.
What I've also seen is like that a lot of the bloggers who have been in the game for such a long time, they have improved their blogs. They have been working on changing the content strategy and merging content, deleting content, making the blog prepared pretty much for the future. And I think that's also one of the big values with the blog, which is not just like the social media. Obviously, most bloggers use the social media, but the blog provides like a long-term value. Accessible all the time, so they don't need actually to promote or to share something all the time on social media. This is all on top, and by improving the blogs, I think that has been like a very smart move to deliver even more good value for their clients and partners down the road. And actually, I think you said that in the call earlier, you already see an increase of travel. So without even sharing something on a specific destination, you suddenly see that you provided value for that destination because you had the content online on your blog, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we even like we spoke about Jordan just now. Some of my Jordan content is about 8 years old, which I keep updating regularly, and actually throughout the past few months during this crisis, when traffic to my blog basically crashed, one of the posts that stayed right up there for some weird reason, I have no idea, is about Petra in Jordan, and that post is like 8 years old or 9 years old. And which I've updated throughout the years, and it was doing really well. I think people were just looking for something to read about, or maybe something inspirational. I don't think anyone was planning to actually go to Jordan, but yeah. And I've also seen that long form content has been doing really well, because people have also got plenty of time and like to read travel stories, inspirational stories and all that. So these are the types of content that have been doing really well in the past couple of months. Yeah.
Great, cool. Yeah, we are 7 minutes after 4. It has been a very quick half an hour.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining, and for everyone who was listening, chat, thanks for joining as well. I think what is important, like I see down the road really a big potential when with working with bloggers, as they can provide a lot of value in many different kind of ways. I think it's always up to the communication to get in touch with each other, quickly grab the phone, the old school phone, instead of just messaging, and start brainstorming the different kind of strategies and what you can do, because every destination needs something else, and there's many different ways to help each other. And yeah, that's like from my part, and let's get forward and let's get out of this crisis stronger than before. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.